Okay, everyone, welcome to the morning briefing from the Celtic Way. Monday morning, champions. Ryan, how does it sound?
Sounds pretty good. Yeah, delighted. Thank you for having me back on Monday morning. We used to call these the Magic Mondays because Celtic were always putting in good performances in the weekend in the last couple of years, and that was the same again on Saturday. You know, I think we're all sort of reveling in the latest title win. Everybody's delighted. A couple of the Jota story that we'll talk about is it's disappointing, but for the most part, the last weekend was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, let's get into it and talk all about it.
Yes, loads to discuss today. Ryan's already hinted at part of it. First of all, a quick word from our sponsor. This Celtic Way video is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV there today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh, and the surrounding areas, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. We've also still got this going. Even though Jota may not be around for the next wee while, you can still get involved in our wonderful deal.
Yes, absolutely. You could do it as a tribute to Jota if you're feeling like it. £1 for 6 months.
You're going to guilt trip them now. You're going to tug in the heartstrings.
Yeah, it's such a great offer that I think everybody should be taking it up, and especially down to the fact that Jota was instrumental in that first goal, despite not getting a touch on the end of it. He was the one that brought out the own goal in Ryan Strain. He forced him into making an error, and he was instrumental in that first goal. £1 for 6 months of access to the website. Plus, you'll get a free Jota print from renowned football artist made by Frankie. We've had offers from her before. We've had Callum McGregor, Kyogo Furuhashi, and now we've got Jota. So all you need to do is go to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. I would stress that this is the final week that we're doing it as well. So if you're wanting to get your hands on that Jota print, then now is the week to do it because it's the final week to do so.
It is. Okay, Thomas among those asking, what is the update on Jota? So the news today, clearly Jota went off in the first half pretty early on in the game on Saturday. And he was pictured after the game, crutches, he had the boot on and all of that stuff. Seemed to be in pretty good spirits, but we had won the league. The report today saying that his season is going to be over. Celtic will find out today, but they'll receive confirmation that his season is over. He's going to miss a number of months, potentially. And he could even be in a race against time to be fit for the start of next season. So clearly not the news we wanted to hear. I don't think it's a complete disaster. I still think we can beat Aberdeen in the final without Jota. And clearly you'd want him to be back for that Champions League qualifier. That's probably what a lot of us are looking at. But I don't think all of our hopes, go completely because Jota's missing for a few months. But obviously a blow for the team, but also for him as well. I think we're all hoping for a fast start to next season, big pre-season behind him and so on. Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Seems like he might miss a couple of months. But we are only just going into May later this week. So, we're not... First game of next season won't be until the start of August, Ryan. So there is still hope here, but it seems like he's going to certainly be missing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the sooner the diagnosis is made clear, then the better, and they can move forward with his recovery, whether he needs an operation or not, or it's just recovery. I presume that he would need an operation on what he's sustained. He was in a brace. Some nice images of him at full time celebrating. Rio Haddadi was desperate to carry him over to celebrate with the supporters, which was a nice touch. It's just disappointing for the player, really, because we were so excited to have him back. Is this a build up of so many games over a short period of time? I know that he's been managed. His game time has been managed because of his time at Al Ittihad and Rennes, respectively. They've been trying to nurse him back to full fitness, full match fitness as well. Is this maybe just one game too far and something's went twang and he's now got an injury. If so, that's really, really disappointing. But you're right, and you mentioned the Champions League qualifiers. That's the most important thing here. That's Celtic's most important game. I'd say it's even more important than the Scottish Cup final coming up next month, because the Champions League is the be-all and end-all for a lot of Celtic supporters. It's big. It really adds something different to the season. You're challenging yourself against the best in the world. That game at the end of August is going to be, or those two games against whoever they play against, is going to be absolutely massive in the context of Celtic's season. So if Jota's to miss out on that game, then it'll be a massive blow. But the fact that this has been, that this injury has been sustained at the end of April, there's still time for him to recuperate and recover. And you never know, he could recover quickly in time and get some training done. But at this moment, it's disappointing that he'll likely miss the end of the season. He's had a good impact since coming back from Rennes, but all focus is on him getting ready for next season, really.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Raymond asking what dates are the Champions League qualifiers. So our first qualifier, first leg will be the 19th or 20th of August. So 2 and a bit weeks after the start of the league season. Second leg's a week later. So you've got until mid-August, but clearly you need to have them up to speed before then. The other thing I've got in my mind, sorry, Henry McClassen asking what is the injury. It's a knee injury, so it's his meniscus, according to Brendan Rodgers after the game. So it's a knee issue. And I do have Cameron Carter-Vickers in my mind, and I couldn't quite remember. Remember Carter-Vickers a couple of seasons ago, it has now missed the end of the season, and I think that was a decision the club made because the hard work had been done. Remember, we'd had 2 trophies in the bag and Inverness to come in the final, and they basically gave him the rest of the season off. He went for immediate surgery, and I think he still missed the start of the new season. Potentially, remember him maybe coming back for the Bilbao friendly. So he didn't actually miss any competitive games, but it was a tough start to the season for him. So I just wonder if there's any sort of comparison there. Clearly, different situations. Carter-Vickers was one he was managing for a while. Jota's is clearly just come on at the weekend, but maybe that gives us some sort of indication on things.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but I think the one thing that we've got to stress is that you don't want him to mess about with a knee injury. If he does have a knee injury and it's severe, then you want him to not face as long on the sidelines, but as long as he needs, really, because a player like Jota, this could hamper him if it's not treated correctly. Cameron Carter-Vickers, I seem to remember, now I may be wrong, and I'm going back a couple of years, I seem to remember him coming back and then getting injured again. So it's one of those ones that it looked as if it was all clear, and then he re-injured the knee and he faced more time out. It's all about getting it right. I think once you're fully, there's a difference between being injury-free and then being 100% fit as well. And that injury can then, it can come up again. So for Jota, you want him to be back 100%. Don't want to rush him back. Make sure he's 100% fit and ready, and that he won't have that injury or sustain that injury, resustain that injury again. If that's the case, then just allow him, basically what I'm trying to say, long story short, is give him as much time out as possible, let him recover, and then bring him back once he's 100% fit. But don't want to rush him back, because that can hamper his long-term career at Celtic. I don't think they can take any chances with Jota.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, clearly, as fans, we're quite focused on getting back as soon as possible. But the club are going to do this right. And as I say, obviously not happy to see this news, but as always with an injury, it's an opportunity for someone else to come in. I'm already thinking rest of the season, opportunity for Adam Ida, probably. Not at left wing, I wouldn't think, but through the middle and Dyson back on the left. I think we'll see that. Certainly see that at Ibrox at the weekend. There might be an argument that Celtic might be more effective in the fixture, because it kind of has occurred to me maybe that for as much as we love Dyson Maeda through the middle, maybe in the derbies a bit more of a physical threat could be good, because he has been quite good when he's played in the derbies. And I always remember it's kind of similar player Giakoumakis being really effective, and there always used to be a debate about Kyogo or Giakoumakis going into these derbies. So we'll see at the weekend, but I have a feeling it might not be a bad thing for Ida to start the game and have Dyson off the left, especially up against you-know-who at right back. But opportunity, potentially James Forrest as well. Yang, we need to find out what Yang's situation is, because hoping for a big end to the season for him. And yeah, that qualifier will come, and we'll see what's happening. So, Gordon asking about Yang. Have you heard anything about Yang? It's a kind of elbow injury he's got, isn't it?
Not heard any new updates from the original one that said that he was going to be out for a few weeks due to that injury that he sustained. I remember watching it on the TV when he did sustain the injury. He sort of fell at the touchline next to Brendan Rodgers. It was a bit of a really awkward fall, which has led to him having that injury. But I don't know if he would be back for this game, but I think the selection choices have become a little bit easier for Brendan Rodgers now that Jota is likely out for the rest of the season. Daizen Maeda just moves out to the left. I think it also makes it easier the fact that Adamida's scoring goals again for Celtic. He scored in his last 2 games, 3 goals in his last 2 games. I thought 2 really good finishes at the weekend against Dundee United. Took them both extremely well. Great header into the corner, and then sort of caught Jack Walton out with that shot. Sort of similar to his goal that he scored, maybe not the same power, but the goal that he scored against Rangers at Ibrox in terms of sneaking it into that corner. So, and he stood up in games against Rangers before, so I guess it makes the selection queries or the selection quandaries a lot easier for Brendan Rodgers, knowing that he doesn't have Jota. He can just put Maeda out to the left. Nicholas Kuhn on form now, once again on the right, and Adamida through the middle.
Opportunity for Ida at the weekend, as you say, a bit of confidence there as well with his recent goals. Okay, so that situation, just to say again for anyone who's just tuned in, I think one of you were saying you tuned in and missed this. Nothing official from the club yet, but it's been reported. I think fair to say there's a good chance Jota's played his last football of the season. Meniscus, or certainly a knee injury from the weekend, and going to miss a few months out, it seems. But we'll get an update from the manager. I kind of feel like Celtic will probably do a Celtic TV sit down this week, because the derby's coming up, and also just reflecting on the weekend. It just strikes me as the kind of thing they'll do. So I'm guessing we'll get an update on that possibly tomorrow, something like that. If not, we'll have it during the press conference on Friday. Just another wee story I saw this morning, you may have seen. It's not been confirmed either, but reported down south from the Eye that Celtic are set to face Newcastle United in a friendly at Celtic Park. I looked this up, and it had also been mentioned back in December, and the date Saturday the 19th of July was mentioned at that stage. So seems pretty likely this is going to be the case. It's at Celtic Park, so Celtic versus Newcastle United. Eddie Howe at Celtic Park, etc. And pretty good friendly. I would rather it was down at St James's Park. I remember Alan Shearer's testimony all those years ago. I wasn't there or anything, but I just remember Celtic having a huge crowd that day, and I think we were winning 1-0, and then we how would you put this? We played along with the narrative that evening up until Alan Shearer coming off the bench to slot a penalty away, and I want revenge for that, Ryan.
Was that a game in which Scott Brown scored as well? Was it arguably his first goal for Celtic? I think he just joined.
Could be right.
At that point, I seem to remember being down south at that point. My dad went out to watch the game. This was a few years ago now, but I seem to remember Celtic playing Newcastle. But it's a tasty pre-season fixture. Newcastle are still yet to see if they're going to have Champions League football. They'd go straight into the group stage, obviously, due to England's coefficient. They've got at least five teams that will get qualification into the Champions League. Could be more, given Spurs and Man United's participation in the Europa League as well. So there's going to be a plethora of English teams in the Champions League proper. But a really good side. You know, they won their first trophy in decades about a month or so ago under Eddie Howe. Really good performance against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final. Good team, brilliant striker up front in Alexander Isak. They've got good players all over the park. And the good thing is, it's a pre-season friendly, but they'll bring a big crowd up with them as well. Whatever allocation that Newcastle get,
4,000 or 5,000.
It's very likely that they'll sell it out. A very passionate fan base. I've been to St James's Park a couple of times. The atmosphere's electric down there, and that was before they even had the influx of money from the Saudi owners, so you'd expect them to be even noisier now. Passionate fan base. It should make for a good occasion and a good test for Celtic at Celtic Park ahead of the Champions League qualifiers.
Goal scorers that night, Alan Shearer's testimonial, Sean Maloney and John Hartson. Goal scorers for Newcastle, Luque, was it Albert Luque? Lawson on goal, I think it's Paul Lawson and Shearer. So that'll be exciting. A few people pointing out that, it's a couple of Champions League teams. Could well be a Champions League fixture next season. You wouldn't totally rule it out, would you, either at Celtic Park or St James's, given that you now play 8 games. So no official confirmation on that, but that's going to be announced, I think, at some stage as well. Loads of good quotes from the weekend, Ryan. I know I think you've written some of them up. The stuff from Nicholas Kuhn that is interesting about his celebration that he gave it at the weekend. There's, I think, incredible quotes from Callum McGregor. I don't know if you've seen them, but just about enjoying things because you never know when they're going to end, and talking about his, I guess, his kind of mortality as a footballer, and the fact that that's not too many years away. And also, who was the other one? I think Cameron Carter-Vickers speaking a bit about James Forrest as well, that I really liked.
Yeah, James Forrest comments as well about Bobby Lennox, about the fact that he's going to meet him this week. He was speaking about the fact that he wasn't keeping so well in recent times, but he's still going to make the effort to go and see Bobby Lennox and his family. Love to see that. Just think there was an outpouring of positivity with Celtic on Saturday. You know, there was that dip that's been happening over the past month or so, you know, with the St Johnstone defeat, with the Rangers defeat at Celtic Park. But there was an outpouring of positivity after the final whistle on Saturday, and it was brilliant to see. I liked the comments. Personally, I love the comments from Nicholas Kuhn. I like somebody that's fired up. You know, you're not going to get too much from him. I'm more than happy for him to stand up for himself. And I know he's had a bit of a dip in form, but you look at the overall numbers that he's got this season. I've been one of his biggest critics this season because I know how good he can be. Watched him against RB Leipzig absolutely terrorise his former employers. The same for Bayern Munich when he scored. He's got those good moments, but there's too many games in which sometimes he flatters to deceive and he doesn't show that same level. But if he's fired up and he feels as if he needs to go and do a celebration like that, then I'm all for it. He put his money where his mouth is at the weekend, and I was quite happy for him to do that. He clearly enjoyed himself, and I enjoyed his performance on Saturday. If he can do that this Sunday against Rangers at Ibrox, then I will certainly not be complaining whatsoever.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You look at the last couple of derbies, and he's been pretty poor in them. So you really want to see a big performance from him. But yeah, I've never really had an issue with any Celtic player giving a bit back. And he was asked whether it was anyone in particular, and I think he said it was a bit of everyone. So I'm assuming it's stuff in the media, bits from Celtic fans as well, which again I don't massively have a problem with. The same way I don't really have a problem with the criticism of Kuhn either. I don't think that criticism has been unfair, to be honest. He had a great start to the season, and then I do think that the past, to be honest, kind of this calendar year, I do think he's been a bit off it. Clear signs on Saturday that he was getting back to, even just away from his goals. There was a moment in the first half where he kind of tracked back and won the ball back, and I thought that was a pretty big moment. So maybe it's just taking him going out the team for a couple of weeks and seeing James Forrest play so well, and you then get that reaction from Kuhn again. I want to see it on Sunday though from Kuhn at Ibrox, because we know he's got it, and what a threat he could be in that fixture, you know, running into space potentially. And I don't think their left back Yefty's up to much, to be honest. I think he's someone we could target, but go and impact the game, Kuhn, like we know you can, like you've done against better teams than Rangers this season. Don't let the game pass you by. Go and have a big game, and then I think you can properly give it all of that stuff. So yeah, that's fine, absolutely fine. What else? The Callum McGregor quotes are amazing. I'm not going to read them all out because they're pretty long, but the bit that stuck out to me, he's talking about his football career, and he's saying, I guarantee you that in 10 or 15 years, when you don't have it in your life, you'll miss it. So you have to enjoy it as much as you can. And then the ending of the quote, which, I don't know, made me feel incredibly kind of, I don't know, sorry for Callum McGregor, and it's probably not the wrong emotion to put across, but he said, "I dread not having it in my life. I try not to think about it." And he's probably aware that he's only maybe got 4 or 5 years max playing for Celtic. Like, he can kind of see the finishing line coming for Celtic. As much as he's still got a lot to offer in the here and now, he knows that he's kind of played more of his career than he's got to go. If you know what I mean, he's more than halfway through his career, and he's talking. And I do think it's often difficult to have sympathy for footballers because they do this amazing job and they get this amazing pay for it. When you look at him, and all he's been his whole life is either trying to be a professional footballer or a professional footballer, and now he's talking about not wanting to think about the end. So it's, I guess that's a good insight into what motivates him.
Yeah, I like that insight into players because it shows that they're human beings as well. Not that was ever in doubt, but I like when they put their heart on the line in the press conferences and they really do discuss what it's like, the psychology of being a football player. Simply going out and playing 90 minutes and winning trophies at the end of the season, but what that encompasses and what they do out with football and what their plans are out with football. I've got no doubt that Cal McGregor, I think, will be a coach when he retires at Celtic. I think the positive for McGregor is when he retires, whether it's in a couple of years' time, 3, 4, 5, 6 years' time, regardless, he's a Celtic legend now. Look at his resume at Celtic. He could retire tomorrow and he'd be a Celtic legend just looking at his trophy haul. So he's been a tremendous servant. I remember watching his debut for Celtic against Reykjavik in Iceland. I believe he scored in that game as well. He was more of a goal-scoring midfielder back then. Granted, he is scoring goals this season as well from deep, from long range. But I don't think, I would never have predicted he would have had this impact at Celtic. I thought he was a good midfielder that would have maybe left after 2 or 3 years, maybe gone down south. But to be such to take the reins from Scott Brown and effectively become a different captain. He's not a mouthpiece. Yes, he does bark orders at his fellow midfielders, defenders and attackers and goalkeeper as well. But he's a different sort of player to Scott Brown. He's not once tried to be Scott Brown. He's his own man, but he's still a leader of Celtic. And you look at his trophy haul since becoming Celtic captain. He's won every league possible since becoming Celtic captain. He's a legend of the football club, and long may his reign at Celtic as captain continue, because it seems that whenever he's captain, success follows a football club. And if that's the case, then long may it continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Scott Brown was at the club, we all loved Scott Brown, and we all got a bit worried about Scott Brown leaving and how much we'd miss him. And it's probably the biggest compliment you could give Callum McGregor is that this amazing captain before him, Scott Brown, probably the biggest figure we had at the club, definitely the biggest figure we had at the club since Henrik Larsson in terms of what he brought us and how he guided us. And I don't think we've missed Scott Brown at all. Like, because that's what Callum McGregor has given us. He's just slotted in perfectly. As you say, he's put his own stamp in things. And I mean, you talk about James Forrest being the most decorated player in our history. I don't know if people noticed the graphic at the weekend, but McGregor's 2 behind, and McGregor's got a few years extra probably in his locker. And the rate we're winning trophies, he probably only need 1 year to overtake James Forrest. So I think there's a fair chance. I was going to say there's a fair chance Callum McGregor maybe finishes or certainly is for the next while the most decorated player in our history. But you look at someone like Anthony Ralston, and if we keep going with that, Ralston might end up being. So it's a bizarre kind of way we've got going at the moment. But yeah, I love those quotes from McGregor, and you're just going to miss him so much when he eventually moves on. Thankfully, we've got a number of years left of McGregor, and you only have to look at his performances at the weekend. Ryan asking Tierney, could he fill that role? Is that as captain? Quite possibly. Kieran Tierney might be. I think he certainly would be the next captain. But Tierney's a weird one. Like, does Tierney come in and obviously we all hope Tierney absolutely flies for us, and I think he will. But does Tierney then, fancy another crack at another club at some time in the future, or does he just want to be at Celtic for the rest of his career? And I really hope it's the the latter, that he's kind of been and tried something else and comes to Celtic. But he's going to be amazing having Tierney back next season.
Yeah, and I loved the tease that Celtic did in their season ticket renewal
Yes.
video as well. You know, just it's like one of those teases. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. Just give us a little bit of something. You'd expect that to ramp up in the coming weeks and months, maybe more the latter than the former. In the next few months, Celtic are going to milk it for all it's worth, as they should, because it's the return home of one of their greatest ever academy, certainly in modern times, one of the greatest ever academy players. Still a top player in the prime of his career, 27 years old, to come back to Celtic. I think he will spend the rest of his career at Celtic, if I'm being honest. I think this is the end game for him, as much as you're hoping for that, Hamish. I think that will be the case, because I just think with and you can't talk about Kieran Tierney with, the injury troubles that he's had, albeit I think they're talked up a little bit too much in recent years. He seems to have a better fitness and a better injury record than previous years. So that bodes well for Celtic. I just hope that, I think for the first time, you're sort of hoping that Greg Taylor can stay alongside Tierney and give those two options at left back. I think a lot of people have understood, certainly in that last game against Kilmarnock, against his former team, you've seen what he can bring to the squad when he's put in that different inverted role. He's so effective at that. I don't think that'll be Tierney's role. I think he'll have more of a Johnston sort of role in the team where he's a traditional fullback. But having those options, Tony Ralston can play inverted as well. He played there under Ange Postecoglou. Having those different options for different games in which you can rotate the players will be so important. So I do hope that Greg Taylor stays, and I've just got a funny feeling that he will. I think that'll get announced in the next couple of weeks. Don't know anything else behind that, bar just a hunch, but I think that he knows his worth. Celtic have matched his worth, and I think that I think he'll extend his contract with Celtic.
There was a quote recently, I can't remember if it was after the game on Saturday or before the game or whenever. I just remember hearing it from the manager talking about Tierney and Taylor. I think it was a press conference on Friday, and he was speaking about the different options that different players give you. So I think it very much is going to be Kieran Tierney's going to be playing in the traditional fullback role, and that might benefit us more in certain games, potentially the European games where it's a bit more pace and power required, and Tierney clearly has that over Taylor, and maybe some of the other domestic games. Not that Tierney can't cope with Kilmarnock at home and teams like that, but Taylor might just be that kind of X factor of just offering himself and playing that inverted role as we've seen in recent weeks. So great stuff. No idea why I brought it on to Tierney. Oh yeah, that was one of you legends asking if Tierney's the next captain. Ryan was also, I think, asking, I've lost it, but I think he was asking about whether McGregor goes into coaching when his career's done. I mean, only he will know, but he strikes me as a pretty good coach.
He's a good speaker as well. He's really good with the media. Yeah. He's a safe pair of hands when he's put in front of the media, and you can just see that with his quotes from the weekend talking about the morality of his own football career. He's clearly taken, or he's in his head, he's at least preparing himself for that. As much as he's enjoying his football at the moment, he's never taken it for granted. He knows, as you said, that he's only got 3, 4, 5 years left of his career as a top flight Celtic footballer. So he's preparing for that, at least mentally. I think he will be a coach when he retires from the game, and he's got a good football mind. As much as you're like some players maybe sound like they'll be good coaches and they won't. I think he will be a good coach because he understands. I even was listening to him on Sky Sports after the game, and he was talking about different formations, different ways in which teams play. And I was like, you've got the football brain and the football IQ to really pull it off as a coach. I would like to see that going forward. I'd like to see him stick around. As much as I don't want him to retire, I'm not wishing him away at all. At the end of his career, you'd want him to stick around as one of the coaches for sure, if he is up to the task, of course.
David wondering, when does he get a testimonial?
That's what I've always wondered as well.
By James Forrest logic, he's probably got one pretty soon. I think that might be coming. I don't know if it'd be this summer. They did a pre-season game with James Forrest. It might be the following year, but I don't know if there's a proper rule. I think it's normally 10 years, but it seems to be a little bit off sometimes. I remember Scott Brown's was 10 years, wasn't it, when he played the Republic of Ireland? Anyway, we've got all of that to look forward to. just great stuff, Ryan. I mean, it's just brilliant. And yeah, some of the comments from the weekend, just speaking about, never taking it for granted. And John wrote a great piece on the website as well, Celtic Way website, about the title never been easy. You could never call it easy because it wasn't easy for those in the club. They work incredibly hard every single day. The standards they set, especially in the first half of the season, one is the league. But they made it look straightforward this season, and I just think it's a huge credit that I think it's the most straightforward title I can ever remember, and virtually from after the first derby of the season, we all kind of knew it was over. But and maybe it's just natural. Second half of the season, there was a bit of a drop off. I think if we finish the season strongly, we win the derby, we win the Scottish Cup, I think people will probably forgive that run over a number of months, because there probably was a natural drop off there. The good thing is, after the St Johnstone game, the team seemed to be getting back to their level. I still think we can start games better, and I think we do need to start well on Sunday. But God, I've actually, for it being a dead rubber in theory on Sunday, I've got a bit of excitement for it. I'm really looking forward to the game, and I really hope we go and show them who's boss, because we should have done it in recent matches.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they'll be up for it as well. I don't think there'll be any more need for motivation, given the way the last game ended up as well. The fact that they're champions, they want to put out a statement to say that, right, we are the top dogs and we'll show why we're the top dogs in the Scottish Premiership. I think that Celtic will come out the traps, will come flying out the traps on Sunday. I've got a good feeling about it. Maybe it's because it's Monday, Celtic have won the league, make get a bit nervous as the days go on. But at this moment, in the 28th of April, Monday morning, I'm feeling pretty confident about what Celtic can do at Ibrox this weekend. I just think that the way the two teams are coming into this game, it bodes well for Celtic. If Celtic turn up and play the way that we know that they can play, then I think there's only going to be one winner on the day.
Yeah, I agree with you. But, we've said that recent ones. So go and do the business. Listen, it's busy. We're plenty of gloating to do, and hopefully some more to do this weekend if the team can finally turn up in a derby and do what we all hope. We'll leave it for now, though, everyone. More on the website. I was actually on there earlier, scouring for news. It's a good way, just when I wake up in the morning, to go on and see exactly what's happening. There's loads of good opinion pieces on there as well about various things. I know you guys have all been busy looking at, I think I saw one, the quotes, the story of the season in quotes, and kind of important matches, perfect moments of the season, and loads of other things. So people can check that out, and there'll be more to come on there as well. In terms of the YouTube channel, I will return tomorrow. So thanks, everyone. Speak to you then.